30 minutes or a short time, by 9:03 rather, a second plane. Both United Airlines planes, but American Airlines is now saying maybe one was not their plane. Afterwards, 2 additional planes, both United carriers, crashed.
We had the Pentagon, a plane in the Pentagon. The reports did say that they saw the tail of a large jumbo jet sticking out of one section of the Pentagon. Now, again, when you have reports coming in like they are, sometimes they're unconfirmed. So all we can do is tell you that they are reports and not necessarily the actual fact as we know it at the moment. As soon as we get the information, of course, we will bring you up to date on the new information that we have.
And of course, the United Airlines flight was bound from Newark to San Francisco, and another United Airlines flight that was 175 bound from Boston to LA. Also, Greyhound bus service has stopped through much of the nation. On Route 3 in our area near Giant Stadium, it is now closed. Long Island Railroad has limited service out of Penn Station and Jamaica Station, no New York-bound service. And subways, no service into Manhattan, limited AFE and 7 out of Manhattan.
All right, we have Joe Cullum, who is basically right near the World Trade Center, what was the World Trade Center. Our reporter for UPN9, Joe Cullum, and the I-Team. Joe, what's the situation as you see it there now?
Well, Ron, I've been out of communication with what you've been seeing, but I'm kind of at ground zero. I'm about a half a block from where the tower used to be. And as you can imagine, it's just utter devastation. There's burnout vehicles everywhere. The towers have collapsed across. One of the towers has collapsed across West Street, which is the south end of the West Side Highway, and fallen across into the Battery Park City area. The 2 towers, obviously, you've probably seen the video. I can only see it from ground level here. And they're not there anymore. I was standing at the corner of Barclay Street and Washington Street, which is about 1 block, and it's in the canyons around the World Trade Center, and it looked like a bomb went off, and a fireball must have shot right up the street because everything on the street was completely devastated. Vehicles were burnt out. Windows were blown out. There's just debris from superstructures of buildings everywhere. Firefighters are right now pumping water onto the remains of one of the towers. I was just speaking with a New York firefighter who told me that there are right now firefighters trapped inside the building. They're afraid the building is going to collapse. They at one point pulled everybody away, but apparently there were firefighters inside looking for survivors. And right now they're trapped inside. They can't go in to get them until they put the fire out. And right now, as I'm looking, there's black smoke billowing out of the building and hoses spraying onto the building. And I see a firefighter climbing up a ladder right now. There used to be a footbridge across West Street going from the towers to the Battery Park City area, which is basically high-rise office buildings and living, condominiums and co-ops. That footbridge has collapsed. There are a number of fire trucks that have been crushed beneath that. What appears to have happened was that the first units that responded to this were surrounding the Trade Center, which is, if you're familiar with it, it's a several square block area bordered on the west side by West Avenue, Bessie Street on the north side, West Broadway on the other side, West Broadway, that whole financial area down in South Manhattan, the lower Manhattan area, and apparently a lot of units, firefighter units, EMS units, NYPD units responded, and that's when the collapses occurred, and there's a great deal of concern among the people I've spoken with here that a lot of those units may have either been trapped or suffered heavy casualties. There is, I can't describe the scene here well enough with my own words. There's just millions and probably billions of pieces of paper strewn everywhere. The streets are thick with dust. It almost looks like something you might see if a volcano had blown. It's just dust everywhere from apparently concrete, or I'm not sure what. Vehicles that haven't been burned up are covered in this dust and soot, and it's blowing everywhere. It's hard to. We managed, as we walked down here, managed to buy a couple of surgical masks to cover so we wouldn't have to breathe this air. But it's hard to, when the wind blows, it's hard to even see because it's so thick in the air, and it's not easy to breathe either. I spoke with one firefighter who had been home this morning watching on television, as a lot of people probably were watching, and he was actually out on medical leave and saw it, and got a call to come in and responded, and got here after the towers had collapsed, but was in the process of crawling in under that footbridge I was mentioning to pull out a fallen comrade. And this comrade was a firefighter, was trapped about 500 feet in under some debris down West Street, and he turned around and said he saw a police officer walking with him carrying a 9mm pistol, and he asked him what he was doing, and he said that there were people in the area that were planting bombs after the planes had flown into the tower, that the bombs apparently, and this is just going on what one firefighter told me, police believe that there were bombers that were in the area after the planes hit the towers planting bombs, and that may have been what caused the further devastation. Are you still with me?
Yes, we're listening to you, Joe. It's just unbelievable what you're telling us.
I'm looking right now at what looks to be, and bear with me because I'm trying to get my bearings down here myself. I've been here so many times, and in fact, it just brings back so many memories from 8 years ago when the World Trade Center blew on that cold winter day, standing out here that day and thinking how devastating that was. Well, that was just looked like now, like it might have only been a trial run for somebody, because this just goes so far beyond that, it's unbelievable. But I'm looking at the remains of one of the towers, and I can see flames in the upper floors, and there's still several hoses going down. There's firefighters are coming. It looks like they've been in there, and they're pulling back down while others walk in. There, a minute ago, a whole brigade of firefighters walked down toward the buildings, and I know what they're trying to get these fires up so they can rescue their fellow firefighters. And right now, it appears to be more of a New York Fire Department effort. Police department is here. They're keeping people as far away as possible. However, right now, it looks like it's the firefighters who are doing most of the work, while the policemen just try to maintain the situation and control the situation.
Joe, can you still see people being brought out, the injured?
You know what, Ron? It's interesting. Now, some of the firefighters told me that when they arrived, there were many bodies and body parts around, and that there were, when the buildings, you probably may have even witnessed this on live television, people apparently started jumping out of the upper floors, and firefighter told me that as he approached the building, he heard over his radio to watch out for jumpers, that there are people coming down. Apparently, a lot of people, when they felt the building start to collapse, apparently jumped. And as a result, there were apparently a lot of bodies and body parts strewn in the immediate vicinity of the towers. However, where I am, and I've been up within a half a block of the building, I didn't see any bodies. Let me backtrack a little bit to tell you that everyone probably knows our studios are in New Jersey, and when we saw the first video of what we didn't know at the time, but it was obviously a plane crashing into the tower, we hopped in our vehicles and took off and for the lower Manhattan area. But the tunnels had closed by the time we reached them, and we went to Weehawken and hopped on a ferry and came over, and we got about